Should a thief go to jail when he steals?
Absolutely.
Should a robber pay back the money he robbed?
Absolutely.
So why shouldn't the white man pay for what he did?
That's right.
One day you'll see just how it feels. Payback is a dog. It's a dog. Payback is a dog. It's a dog. Payback is a dog. It's a dog. Payback is a
I'm in a hell of a hole, was never expected to grow. Just obstacle set in the road, that a result of me selling my soul. The story I'm telling is cold, but yet it's what everyone knows. The white man's the devil is known. America was never a home, only a place of captivity, safe facility, hating, disfigure me. They claim that I'm lazy, be killing me. Maybe this slavery draining my energy. 400 years and counting. The trail of my tears is countless. The fact that I'm here is astounding, but I can't wait till this shit is surrounded. Ready to tangle my king and the angel, be ready to rap. Crack in the sky, nuclear missiles will make it official. I'm capturing every cracker surviving. Put them all in chains where they need to be. Slavery for me. And let the whole world see that with them in the cage and safer in the streets. Put the dog on a leash. Get resolved for the beast. 144, get the ruler show, we could all be at peace. As soon as the trumpets are sound, your kingdom we busting it down. The only way justice is found, the time for your judgment is now.
You'll see just how it feels. Payback is a dog. It's a dog. Payback is a dog. It's a dog. Payback is a dog. It's a dog. Payback is a dog. It's a dog.
Look, ain't no remorse in my blood slim. It won't be no compromise. Now it's time to feed the worms. Watch his body turn to flies. I clutch iron while you trust the lies. The next Glock I buy gon' be Gen 5. I get it customized. And sending shots off like farewell. Praying payback come back around like a carousel. Still remember Johanna's words ringing in my head like bells. Said you in his body, you fit the Lord, fuck the cartel. Triangle choke, apply pressure to the game like I did Vondale. Payback's a bitch in a dress, she a bombshell. Revenge is served cold, I just hope they make an oxtail. Glock fresh out the box, I swear it got that new car smell. Made myself a target in a world of mad shooters. There was design fire for our babies to pass through it. And the day of our king's reign, I'll be overzealous. They bought my jealous, I bought brand new parabellums.
Game and the way they really get ahead, but we're gonna go ahead and touch base on today. Right? Good. Go ahead and pop in. I'm gonna do the whole thing. Good. All right. Shalom. Yahbashim Yahshua thumb to the brothers. Shalom. Yahshua thumb Bashim Shalaki. Shalom. Yahshua thumb Bashim Yahshua to the sisters. I'm priest and officer 5000 Matazo with the I.S.U.P.K. That's the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge under the commanding GEN.YAHANNA, right? We started off 125th, 1 West Harlem, New York. We've been doing this since 1969, and that's bringing the truth to the so-called Blacks, Hispanic, and Native Americans here in the Americas, right? Even though our people are scattered across the whole world, we do have schools in other nations and other area codes, right? But right here in Arkansas and in America, we touching bases with our brothers here in the Americas, right? So what I'm gonna touch bases on today, for those on TikTok, I know it's this stuff's in the Bible because this stuff is in the Bible, right? And this is the things that they like to look over, right? So everybody has this concept. When I say everybody, we've been fed this concept, this ideology, this religion-based information that has the thinking that everybody can be saved, right? Everybody can be saved. Everybody, it's good to go. Everybody get their jackets to heaven, right? That's not in the Bible, right? It's the exact opposite than what you've been taught and what you think, right? And this stuff is in the Bible. Now, before I get deep into that, a document came across me. When I say came across me through other means, and this is in regards to like the FBI, what the government got going on, right? And this is just in regards to a project Megiddo, whatever it's called, Megiddo. Pretty much is a 24-page thing on what they consider potential terrorist, domestic terrorism in the United States of America. The thing that baffled me, right? Because even to this day, we get criminalized just for the color of our skin. What I mean by that, we in I.S.U.P.K, we're not a terrorist group. We don't have any bodies. What I mean by that, we don't have any criminal activity. But yet, based on the color of our skin and because we teach the truth, we're domestic terrorists. And the crazy thing about this, when I read this 24-page, of course, it mentions other religious sects and stuff like that. It even mentions Christianity. But the thing that baffled me was it never mentioned Satanism. Like these cats are already doing things on a whole other scale where they didn't even mention Satanism as any potential group or a potential threat. Now, well, we understand, that they into all types of witchcraft and stuff like that. We see it. We don't have to see it to know it's there type deal. We hear it through the grapevine, but I'm not touching on that. I just wanted to touch on the basis that our enemies will always be our enemies because they always want to. It's called defamation of character.
Right.
You have no facts to back up your statements other than these are some brown brothers of color, and they speak in a little. Who taught you that? They speaking a little more educated than the rest of them. So of course it's a natural fear because just like back in the slave days, boy, you walking down the street. Who taught you to read? Right. Reading was a direct threat to them. These brothers out here can read. Who's teaching them to read? Right. Right. They were afraid just because we knew how to read. So think about now that we in this truth and we try to wake our brothers and sisters up to say, hey, we are the chosen people of God. This is what's required of us. They say, oh, man, these guys are straight up terrorists, man. Not only can they read, but now they're trying to educate other people too. It's no different than what they did to us back then when brothers was trying to educate our people and bring our people to another level of understanding. What I mean by that, as long as we put our trust fully into somebody, we can be deceived. We do all understand that. The only way to be deceived is you first got to give somebody your trust. Now, the Bible talks about deception and being deceived and how we will be deceived. Well, we're being deceived now because we're putting our trust into another nation that we shouldn't even be doing, right? Our trust should be in the Most High God, right? Not in another man, not in another nation, but in the Most High God. And because we put our trust in these other nations, we will continually be deceived and be destroyed because they'll lie to us and say, hey, man, look, man, it's just so heavy. When I say so heavy, there's so much that's going through my mind right now because it gets a little irritating because we see it on Facebook, we see it on TikTok. What I mean by that, anytime it's somebody of a different ethnicity. When I say I'm ethnicity Caucasian, right? They'll blur it out. They won't even say names. They won't put their names in the newspaper. They'll do everything discreetly to not bring shame upon that family. But as soon as it's somebody of color, oh man, last term from here to China picking up reception. Hey, it's another brother in America acting the fool. Like everybody receiving the info when there's a person of color, right? It's no different. What I mean by that is police, they always say, oh, we're here to protect. We're here to protect. But why is it that when they're protecting people, it's always our rights that get infringed on. It's always us that receive injustice. But you keep saying that you're here to protect. It's no different. These nations, when you give them that power, when you trust them, they're going to use that power. They're going to use it against you. They're going to deceive you. I'm here to protect you. But all your actions are showing that you're not protecting me. You're actually doing the exact opposite, right? So we're going to go ahead and start getting it from the scriptures. Because this is the thing we have to understand. This is the whole concept of this class. In the Bible, it says, no man can make crooked what the Most High God made straight, and no man can make straight what the Most High God made crooked. You have to understand that the Most High God created all man on this earth with a purpose, right? Even his chosen, even his elect, even his inheritance had a purpose. What do I mean by that? The other nations, because the whole concept of Christianity is every nation can be saved, right? But that's not biblical because the Most High God made the other nations crooked. He made them crooked, right? And he chose a people and made them perfect. He made them after his image. He gave them his laws, statutes, and commandments, right? He didn't give that to every nation. He didn't give that to every people, right? Right. Before we even get into that real quick. Go ahead. Give me Psalms 147:19. I just want to touch that real quick. And then just to show, just to set the stage that hey, the Most High God's not dealing with every nation. Contrary to popular belief, contrary to what they got going on, he's not dealing with them. In the capacity he's dealing with his chosen, right? Go ahead and read what you got.
Come on. Psalm 147:19. He showeth his word unto Jacob,
Right.
his statutes and his judgments unto Israel.
Right.
Verse 20. He hath not dealt so with any nation.
He is what?
He hath not dealt so with any nation.
He has not dealt so with any other nation. The Most High God telling you straight out of his own mouth, look, I've shown my words to Jacob. I've given my laws and statutes unto Israel, right? I have not dealt so with any other nation. So no other nation knows the judgment of the Most High God. So that right there automatically makes every other nation unqualified. It's like a job. You're unqualified to teach from this book. Why are you unqualified? Because you don't know the judgments of the Most High God, because he didn't give them to you.
Right.
He never came to you in a dream. He never came to you in midsummer rain. He didn't come to you dealing with you at all. There's no scripture that ever says that Most High God came to a heathen nation and dealt with them in such way.
Right.
Now, if you say, yeah, it is, well, then guess what? You just call the Most High God a liar. Because right there, and he just said he has not dealt so with any other nation. Right? Now go ahead and give me Deuteronomy chapter 12, verse 30, and just hold that for me. So now we're gonna get because we laid the basis, the foundation. The other nations don't know the judgment of the Most High God, so they can't even begin to teach it. They can't even begin to emulate what it looks like to be righteous. How do we know this? Because the first thing that comes out of their mouth is nobody can keep the laws. But right there lets you know that they're not of God. They never will be of God, because it's not in them to do these things. Because they were crooked from the beginning, and they'll be crooked in the end. Nothing will save them. What I mean by that, if it was in them to be saved, then they would understand they got to keep the laws. But it's not in them. They were made crooked from the very beginning. They were crooked, right? They can't be made straight. So when we go out here and we teach and hey man, thus said the Lord, and we're saying so-called blacks, Hispanic, and Native Americans, well, the first thing our people want to do is, what about the other nations? What did Christ say? He says, I come not, right? Not slack. He didn't say I come not, right? The one I'm going for is, he says, I come for the lost sheep, the house of Israel. That's who we came for, the lost sheep, the house of Israel. So if you understood something, let me give y'all a historical background real quick. You had two nations. After Solomon sinned, the nations got split. Jeroboam took 10 of the tribes, right? And then Judah, Benjamin, some of the Levites that became the Jews. Then you had Israel, the northern nation, that got separated. And during that time, the Most High God said, hey, don't go to war with them. I caused this rift. I caused this division. Don't fight your brother. But at the same time, he said, don't deal with him. And what the Most High God judgment for Israel was, you're no longer my people. But in that same breath, he says, where it was said that you are no longer my people, it will be a day that it will be said that you are my people. It's where Paul comes in, because Paul references these scriptures, right? Make a long story short, Christ came to receive the lost sheep, the house of Israel, right? To bring them back into the fold. This is what the Jews had an issue with. This is why we had this one parable where it says the last shall be first and the first shall be last. And Christ did that parable about the man who looked for work. And he went out to the city and he found two people and said, hey, come work for me. And he promised them a certain amount of dollars, right? I don't know the amount. Just say he promised them some dollars, right? So after he promised them some dollars, the day went on, and the guy went back out to the city and grabbed some more people. So the last 2 hour of the day, right? The guy goes back out to the city, grabs some more people. And so as everybody's leaving, the last was going first, and the first was going last, right? So the two dudes who were hired first, it's like, yo, he paying everybody $1. I'm making up a number, right? But he's paying everybody else $1 who got here late. He's surely gonna pay us much more since we've been doing this for the longest, right? And when they showed up and he paid them $1, like, hold up, man, we've been working quadruple times as long as these other people have been working. How come we not getting more?
Right.
He says, I'm the master. Did I not promise you this much? Is not what we agreed on? So why do you think you should receive much more? And this was the issue that the Jews were having with Israel. With Israel coming back into the fold, they didn't want them, which is unbrotherly, right? Not scriptural, but they didn't want them to come back into the fold because in their mind, they had been holding on to the laws, right? Holding on to the things the Most High God has commanded us to do longer than Israel had. Israel had went into doing all types of abominations, right? Joining unto other nations here and there, everywhere, right? And for them to be let back in so easily, the Jews wasn't having, which is why we all end up getting scattered because not moving, we all were in sin, but not moving the way we're supposed to move, right? So we all got scattered. We all got kicked off the land. So that's who Christ, I did all that to tell y'all, that's who Christ was bringing back into the fold. He wasn't just going to everybody and anybody. He was going unto the lost sheep, the house of Israel. No different than what these priests and prophets do today. So when we say unto the blacks, Hispanic, and Native Americans, we're talking to our people. And of course, we have commentators come over. Everybody can be saying, well, you can't prove that to me. And they only use one scripture, which is John 3:16.
Right.
There's no other scripture that supports that ideology, no other scripture that supports that at all, right? So now we're going to find out right here, because in the Bible that the Most High God had made the other nations crooked from their foundation. It was nothing about them that the Most High God loved, right? Go ahead and read what you got for me.
Deuteronomy chapter 12, verse 30. Take heed to thyself,
all right,
that thou be not snared by following them.
Well, be not snared by following them. The them is the other nations, right? Because he's not talking about Israel. He's telling Israel, beware, don't be snared following them, the heathen, right? Go ahead, continue reading.
Deuteronomy chapter 12, verse 30 continue. Be not snared by following them.
Right.
After that they be destroyed from before thee, in that thou inquire not after their gods, saying, how did these nations serve their gods? Even so, I will do likewise.
So what the Most High God says right there, he's saying, after these nations be destroyed from before you, when you go into a land, don't inquire how these nations serve their gods, because it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter how they serve their gods, because I've given you laws on how to serve me, right? And he's saying, don't inquire, nor do you allow the idea of you serving me the same way they serve their gods. Don't think that's going to be cool. So this is for, not say that because we have so many of our people, when we start bringing out this truth, the first thing they will say is, well, we do it for the kids. Well, I don't celebrate Christmas for this pagan God. I do it for Jesus. Well, I don't celebrate this pagan holiday for this. Every day that I serve is for the Most High God. Well, guess what? God just told you, you can't pick those days that these other nations serve their gods and say, well, I'm going to serve my God on these days. You can't, because he just told you can't, right? God just told us you can't. And if you say you can, well, guess what? You're pretty much telling God. And I hate to be this rude, but you're telling God, fuck you, right? Forget you. I'm going to do it my way. And you're going to be happy with the way I choose to worship you. How can you talk to the Creator like that, right?
Right.
And that's what your actions say, right? Because everybody does it. When I say everybody in the Christian world do it. They say, well, I'll serve God. I'll keep the Sabbath 15 minutes out of the day throughout the week. I'll serve God on Christmas. I'll serve God on Thanksgiving. I'll serve God on, and you can't do this because he just told you can't do that, right? But believe it or not, again, contrary to popular belief, the Most High God did give his people days to worship him. And not one Christian keeps those days. Not one.
Right.
right? Because they've been told by the heathen who don't know the judgment of the Most High God, you don't have to keep the laws, and God's happy with you serving Him on Christmas, Thanksgiving, and Easter, right? The heathen told you this because they don't know the judgment of the Most High God.
Right.
Because if they knew it, they wouldn't be teaching you this, right? They'll be teaching you the things that's pleasing to the Most High God. But you keeping those Christmases and those holidays, that lines their pockets, right? It doesn't help God out. It lines their pockets. But Salaki, continue reading.
Deuteronomy chapter 12, verse 31. Thou shalt not do so unto the Lord thy God. For every abomination to the Lord which he hated,
Which he loved,
which he hated,
which he endures. He not endures, but he holds it with great magnitude, right?
which he hated.
The Most High God hates it. Go ahead.
Come. Deuteronomy chapter 12, verse 31 continue. Which he hated, have they done unto their God.
So everything that the Most High God hates, they have done this unto their gods. So you get where I'm going. They are a nation that was made crooked. There was nothing good about them from the beginning. The Most High God just told you that everything that they do is an abomination to him. Not only is it an abomination to him, he hated it, right? It's something that he hates. He hates Christmas. He hates Thanksgiving. He hates Easter. He hates St. Patrick's Day. He hates the things the heathen do. For everything that they do is an abomination unto him. He hates it. So for you to go and do it and think that because now you're a child of God and you do it, it makes it somehow it glorifies and sanctifies it. That's not the facts, right? That's not factual.
Right.
Well, up to this point now in the Christian world, what we've been living our lives off make-believe. What I mean by make-believe, we've been living our lives based off another man's understanding of the Bible. Right? Now, the Most High God tells us, lean not unto your own understanding. Why would you go lean unto somebody else's understanding of the Bible and think that somehow because the world has given them a title, that title somehow gives them a magical ability to, you see what I'm saying, understand the judgment of the Most High God? It doesn't. Not at all. The exact opposite. But Salaki, go ahead, continue reading.
Deuteronomy chapter 12, verse 31 continue. For even their sons and their daughters they have burnt in the fire to their gods.
Right.
Verse 32. Whatsoever thing I command you, observe to do it. Thou shalt not add thereto, nor diminish from it.
So you can't add Christmas. You can't add Thanksgiving. You can't add St. Patrick's Day. You can't add Easter, right? You can't add to it, nor can you diminish, which means you can't take away from these days. Which means in Leviticus chapter 23, you must be keeping the high holy days because it's what's required of you. You can't take away. You can't diminish those days. You can't be like, well, I see, Feast of Tabernacles is coming up, but I'm not going to do that. Oh, I see such and such is coming up, right? The Passover is coming up. I'm not going to do that. Oh, I see the Feast of Purim is coming up. You know what? I'm going to keep it this Saturday because I got time off. And then when it rolls around, the Lord knows my heart. He ain't going to be tripping. That's one of the biggest lies to keep it that has it so deep in sin now. The Lord knows my heart. He good with me. He know I'm trying. Nowhere in the Bible will you ever see where somebody is getting into the kingdom because they tried. Man, you tried. You get a participation ribbon, right? It's not biblical. It's not factual, right? But Salakia. So that shows that again, the other nations were made crooked from the foundation. Nothing about them was righteous. It didn't even say they could sin, right? See, we believe that, the other nations can sin. No, the Most High God just let you know that other nations from the very get-go, everything they do is an abomination and he hates it, right? For you to understand sin, it's no different like this. So America, I'm going to break it down to you. So America has laws, right? And in China, they have laws. In Australia, they have laws, right? If I can't think. If I did something here in America that may be against the law in Australia, could Australia bound me by that? No, they couldn't. Why? because I'm in America, right? They couldn't hold me to it. Now this is where it comes with God's laws. What I mean by that, God gave His laws to Israel. He didn't give His laws to any other nation. So when it comes to sins, you all get where I'm going with this. If the Most High God has only been dealing with Israel, and sin is, go ahead and give me 1 John chapter, I think it's 3 and 4, where it says sin is a transgression of God's laws. You have to understand that sin itself is a transgression against God's laws. So the other nations could never sin. When I say they could never sin, they're wicked from the beginning, right? From the foundation, from their very existence, they've been wicked. They're crooked. There's no saving them, right? And so when you sin, it's the breaking of God's laws. That's what sin is, right? And if sin is breaking of God's law, and God only gave His laws to one group of people, well, you get where I'm going. The only people who can sin is God's chosen people. They're the ones who can sin. And if they're the ones who can sin, if Christ came to redeem anybody of their sins, it's only those who could sin against the Most High God. Go ahead and read what you got.
Con. 1 John chapter 3, verse 4. Whosoever committed sin transgresseth also the law.
So whoever sins transgresseth the law. That's what sin is. So if the law has only been given unto Israel and hasn't been given to any other nation, the other nations could never, they can't be seen, they can't be redeemed for something they never had, right? They never had the laws. So when they hold this whole idea that Paul started running up to strangers saying, hey, they can't, you can be redeemed. Think about it. That wouldn't make any sense. But it does make logical sense if a group of people who were originally one nation, they got split up, and they were aware that the Most High God said they're no longer a people. And Judah, the Jews knew they were no longer a people, right? And somebody comes and tells them, hey, where God said you were no longer His people, I'm here to tell you today, you've been redeemed, and now you are God's people, and you can come back into the fold. That makes more logical sense than Paul just running up to strangers saying, hey, the kingdom of heaven, you can be saved. If you never knew of God before Paul showed up, you see what I'm saying? You would never, how could you, that makes sense. It wouldn't make sense to a random stranger walking down the street like, what are you talking about? I don't know God. I don't know these laws you're talking about, because it was never in them. They're crooked. So let's find out why the other nations were left. Why are the other nations here? Because the Bible breaks it down clearly why the other nations are here. Go ahead and get me Exodus 16 and 4. Which is why they're able to do such wickedness. And you think, oh, look at them, their lives are so prosperous. They got the most beautiful houses and this and the other. That's why the Most High God says, don't look to set up your kingdom here on this earth. When I say on this earth, don't in this particular world, right? Everybody's looking for the fancy life, and everybody wants to be hugged up with the people of this world. Let me break it down to you. So overseas, and I'm trying to be as vague as I can. A lot of times people get ranked. When I say people, like the other nations, they get ranked based on their relationship with Americans.
Right.
What I mean by that, the closer you are with American, man, we're gonna make you a general. Oh, you real good? You real tight with them? Oh man, we're gonna go ahead and make you the top dude. You know what I'm saying? And they do it based on the relationship that they. So we, as a destroyed people, had that same concept. We constantly look to be validated by the ones who destroyed us. We try to get as close as we can. Look, can't you see? We sit here and talk about what is it that they do. I got some black friends.
Right.
We do the same thing, right? Because we always looking for validation to them. We're the only group of people I know that when something goes down in our neighborhood, instead of seeking real justice, somebody behind bars and et cetera, and life sentences or something, we two-step in the name of love.
Right.
Let's dance for little Johnny who just got murdered by a cop. Let's two-step.
Right.
But then somebody fly a plane into a building and it's like, hey man, it's payback. I need to get my lick back. And everybody understands that concept. But what I'm saying here is we don't have to get our lick back, right? Because that's not what the Most High God requires us to do. He doesn't say get your lick back. All he says is do this, right?
Right.
Well, where I got you at?
Exodus 16:4.
Hold that for me real quick. So I want to show y'all real quick how easy the Most High God made it, because they'll sit here and tell us, oh, you're just a terrorist group. No, this is how easy it is. Remember how easy it was when we got redeemed from Pharaoh, right? Put our obedience, put our faith in the Most High God, put the lamb's blood over our door, and we was all good, right? They try to make it seem like we just the wicked men of the West.
Right.
Let me tell y'all how easy it is and what the Most High God says in regards to vengeance, right? The Most High God, first of all, the Most High God says vengeance is His. One, vengeance is His. It's not ours. It's His, right? This is what He says, right? Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 1. And it shall come to pass when all these things come upon thee. I'm gonna read this for you. The blessings and the curses. So the Most High God already lets us know that the blessings and the curses will come upon us, right? Which I have set before thee. And thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations. That's what we're doing now. We're calling these curses among all the nations. We're letting the nations know, hey, we are the children of God. We've been through the curses, right? We're going through these curses right now. We're letting every nation know that's who we are. We know who we are because this Bible fits us. We're going through these curses, right? So it says, call to mind among all nations, whether whether the Lord thy God have driven thee, because we've been scattered, right? And shall return unto the Lord thy God, and shall obey his voice according to all that I command thee this day. So the Most High God says, when you return unto me, right? Because they'll tell you God's unconditional. God loves everybody unconditionally. That's not biblical. Because the first thing He says is if, right? It says, and shall obey the voice of the Lord thy God this day, thou and thy children with all thy heart and with all thy soul. Verse 3, that then the Lord thy God will turn thy captivity and have compassion upon thee, and will return and gather thee from all the nations whither the Lord thy God hath scattered thee. So the Most High God lets you know that all you have to do is exactly what we're telling you, which is keep the commandments. But we so privy to sin. When I say privy to sin, we so privy to the other nations and what they got going on. We begin to find joy in sin, find joy in wickedness, find joy in this world.
Right.
And all we have to do, which it seems simple, when you start looking at the psychological effect that we've been destroyed and where we at now, it's the hardest thing for anybody to do. Sin is like cocaine.
Right.
Sin is like a drug. It's an addiction.
Right.
And everybody's looking for the next opportunity to sin because it's something about sin. It feels good because sin is equivalent to the flesh. Because think about it, when you sinning, every act that you do in the form of sin is always about pleasing the flesh.
Right.
Which is why when you're in the spirit, it's about denying the flesh, right? Because we done joined ourselves into these other nations that we look, and it's easy. It's simple to say, hey, man, we can't keep the laws, than it is to say, hey, I get it. I got to keep the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High God. Let me do this. Because that's all we have to do. But Salaki, go ahead and read what you got for me.
Come on, come. So I believe it was Exodus 16 and 4.
Yeah, Exodus 16 and 4. This is to show what the other nations are here for, right? Go ahead.
Come on, come. Exodus chapter 16, verse 4. Then said the Lord unto Moses, behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a certain rate every day, that I may prove them whether they will walk in my law or no.
So the Most High God says, I will see if they will walk in my law or no. So Most High God's been proving Israel. To see what Israel will do. Will Israel do the things that's pleasing to me? Will they keep my laws, or will they continue to do the things that's pleasing to the world? Go ahead and get me Exodus 20 and 20. Because all these are going to say the same thing. What I'm saying is I'm showing you that this thing does nothing but repeats itself throughout the Bible, that the Most High God is trying to prove Israel. To see what Israel would do. Would Israel keep his commandments, or will they do the things that's pleasing to the rest of the world, right?
Right.
Go ahead, read that.
Cut on one kind. Exodus chapter 20, verse 20. And Moses said unto the people, fear not, for God is come to prove you, in that his fear may be before your face, in that ye sin not. Verse 21.
So like I said, that you sin not, right? The Most High God, his fear. Now we do understand the scripture says the beginning of knowledge is the fear of the Most High God. Right? When you fear the Most High God, you will sin not. Go ahead and give me Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 2. What I mean by that, it's no different than America's laws, right? We don't speed down the street because we know speeding down the street can get us a ticket. And of course, if people have warrants, it gets put in jail. A lot of us fear jail, right? So what do? We keep America's laws to stay out of jail. But we don't use that same logic when it comes to the Most High God. It's like all of a sudden we go into a fairy tale world because the rest of the world has told us that his judgment is gone. It's null and void now. But literally, the fear of the Most High God is for you to sin not. That's what we just read. The fear of the Most High God to prove you that you sin not. When you fear God, you will not sin. When you love God, guess what? You will not sin. Right?
Right.
Go ahead and read what you got.
So like that was
Deuteronomy 8 and 2. So we're going to go through a bunch of scriptures to show that the Most High God has done nothing but try to prove Israel. He's given us more than enough time or times, right, to bounce back and to do the things that's pleasing to him. But for some reason, we're just such a stiff-necked and hard-headed people that at this point, it seems like it doesn't matter how many times he gives it to us. We're going to find a way to, to continue in our derision, our reprobate mind and stuff like that. So, go ahead and read what you got.
Kind of one kind. Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 2. And thou shalt remember all the way which the Lord thy God led thee these 40 years in the wilderness, to humble thee and to prove thee, to know what was in thine heart, whether thou wouldest keep his commandments or no.
Right. Thou would keep his commandments or not. So the Most High God says, remember these 40 years. No different than America says, remember 9/11. Right? Remember the Oklahoma bombing. Remember Pearl Harbor. The Most High God says, remember these 40 years that you spent in this wilderness. That had you out here to prove you to see if you would keep my commandments or not. Right? That's what the Most High God says. He says, remember these 40 years. That's why they want to consider this a religious book. That guess what, Israel, so-called black man, Hispanic man, and Native American man, this is your history book.
Right.
The Most High God said, remember these 40 years. Remember what I did to Pharaoh. Remember these things and teach it unto your children so that your children will grow up in my ways and not depart. But when you allow the heathen to turn this into a book of fairy tales and make-believe,
right,
well, it makes it hard for you to teach your kids these things and tell them to remember it. Instead, you teach your kids 9/11, Pearl Harbor, Oklahoma bombing. Everything that America deems to be historical, that's what they teach in school. They don't teach 40 years. They don't say, remember what God did to Pharaoh and make sure you keep these laws. The things that would enlighten you and have you keep the laws, they turn it into a fairy tale. Is what I'm trying to get to.
Right.
Think about it. America wouldn't be able to govern us the way they governed us if they didn't raise us up in school and to learn the history of America, right?
Right.
Think about how much harder it would be to govern the people who are uneducated to the history that it took to grow America to where it is.
Right.
Go ahead.
So, sir, if I may,
go ahead.
What you was bringing out was so heavy. What the Lord was bringing out for you was so heavy that even with the 9/11 thing, they always holler, remember 9/11, but they never even talked about in any news segment how thousands of bodies found under the rubble were graves that were already there previously of so-called blacks, Native American Indians, and Hispanics.
Right.
They don't even touch on that. So when it comes to things that pertain to us, it's like they want to keep that hidden and don't want to bring that out.
Right. Selective history is what I call it.
Right.
Yeah. What the brother's saying is it's true. Selective history, right? It's so many things that go on that they they don't want to touch on. It's no different than Anne Frank and Hitler.
Right.
They talk about Hitler so bad, but what I'm starting to realize is you only get a negative name, right? When you're doing things unto your own nation. What I mean by that is, think about what was it? It was a slave master over the Congos, right? And he cut the children's hands off. This guy was known; he was great and renowned. He had respect for what he did unto our people, right? Every slave owner has some historical renownedness to them for the evil atrocities that they did to us.
Right.
And if you look at a historical pattern, what happens is anytime a Caucasian did anything against another Caucasian, they received a backlash. What I mean by that, when they're spoken of in a historical manner, they receive a negative connotation, like Hitler. Hitler is a public enemy number one.
Right.
For what he did, but it's only because he did it unto his own people. Now, in fact, when I say it's unto his own people, Caucasian people, Caucasian people.
Right.
We find that with Brother Rod the other day, the Ryan Rittenhouse. When those Caucasian people got shot at the Black Lives Matter event by that Ryan Rittenhouse, how do you say his name?
Right.
They couldn't even be labeled victims. They actually gave Ryan Rittenhouse the label victim and gave the other people perpetrators, and because they had joined themselves unto us.
Right.
What I'm trying to show you is that history is showing you anytime any nation have joined themselves unto us, or a people, because there's never been a nation, but any people that try to join themselves into us, they receive negative connotation. They get treated, if not the same as us, worse, right?
Right.
Think about it. Back in the day, you in lovers,
Right.
they're getting hung with us, right? Why is that? Because every time in their history, anytime somebody they want to it's called redirect. They want to put the ideology, the psychology behind it. If you join themselves unto you, we will treat you, we will receive the same punishments as them. And from a historical standpoint, or any standpoint in this government, we will treat you like an enemy. You won't have a precious name like Brittany such and such or Tommy this. No, you're gonna be terrorist this and terrorist that, right?
So like
hold on, give me 1 second, because now you look at the atrocities that America has done to this day. To this day. No, I don't hear in American history, I don't hear no negative connotation about the atrocities Americans did to the so-called Native Americans, the Hispanics, or the so-called blacks in America. When you compare the numbers of what America did to what Hitler did, the numbers are far and wide. But he an evil man, and America's a superhero. They're the greatest nation on the face of the earth. Now, what I'm trying to show you is that when you start leaning unto the other people, that you don't lean unto the Most High God, you get easily led astray.
Right.
Because they get to control the narrative. That's all I'm trying to point out. All right, is they control the narrative. They get to pick who's the victor. They get to pick who's the victim. They get to pick who's the hero. They get to pick who. They get to label everybody.
Right.
And they get to blast it through the media, and that is how we get misinformation, right? But nobody questions these things, right? And I just pointed that out because, again, I want to show you that these nations have been crooked from the very foundation. And when you put your trust in them, this is how you get deceived.
Right.
You have to trust in the Lord with all thine heart, with all thy mind. What does that mean? If somebody came up to you and said anything that was contrary to the Most High God, you would call them a liar. Right? You wouldn't call God a liar. You would call that person a liar. It's no different. So us as priests and prophets of the Most High God, we're not coming under our own power. We're not coming of our own accord. So when we come, we speak, and we say, "Thus said the Lord," and you say you're a liar, based on whose perception? Based on who said we're a liar? Talking about the world?
Right.
The world who God said is his enemy? You talking about that world? Says I'm a liar? But you say you love God, though. You have to lean into the Most High God with all your heart, with all your mind, and all your soul, right? Trust in him and him alone. Stop joining yourselves and believing everything these other nations got going on, because this is how you get deceived. But Salakia, go ahead, read what you got. We done with that one? Go ahead and give me Judges chapter 2, starting verse 21 for me. Trying to keep this camera on. Where we at? Right. Most definitely. The fear of the Lord, that's what we're saying. And nobody wants to fear the Most High God. What I mean by that is, if you fear the Lord, your actions will line up. This is why the priest said, I'll show you my faith through my actions, right? Through my works. Because faith without works is dead. You can't sit here and say, I love God, but everything you do doesn't align up with that statement. So either two things happen. The statement you made is false, or your actions are, saying your actions are false. That's why Christ says, and it's also in the prophets, but he says, and it quotes that what's going on? Oh man, what's going on? Oh, so Salakia, TikTok was hating on me. So make a long story short, when you join yourself, where was I? When Christ said this, though these people draw nigh to me with their voices, their hearts is far from me. Right? Because that's what you do. You say, I love God, but then your actions are contrary. You say, I'm for God, but your actions are not aligning. Right? Definitely if you're keeping Christmas and all these other days, right?
Right.
It's not aligning. But see what I'm saying? They don't want the truth to come out. They don't like to hear the truth. Nobody wants to be the bad guy. But the scriptures declare there is a bad God.
Right.
Right? And I'm telling you today, it's not the priests and prophets is out here trying to warn you. It's actually the other way around. It's the people out here that say they're out here to protect you, and they're doing the exact opposite.
Right.
Right? See, with God, there is no secrets. When I said there's no secrets, he said there is no secrets with God. Everything he wanted you to know is right here in this book. He don't keep no secrets. But the nation that says they're here to protect and serve you, they got tons of secrets. They tell you it's better for you not to know the secrets they got going on than for you to know them.
Right.
Right? So who you think is trying to deceive you? The person who gave you all the answers you need, or the person who's constantly coming up with different secrets to keep from you?
Right.
I mean, I'll let you be the judge of that. I trust in the Lord, right? But go ahead and read it again, Judges chapter 2, verse 21.
Come on. Judges chapter 2, verse 21. I also will not henceforth drive out any from before them of the nations which Joshua left when he died. Verse 22. That through them I may prove Israel, whether they will keep the commandment of the Lord to walk therein, as their fathers did keep it or not.
So see, the Most High God said he's going to lead the other nations. He left the other nations, right, to prove Israel. He didn't leave them so they can be saved. He left them to prove Israel. If they would do what? If they would keep the commandments or not. It's as simple as that. That's why the other nations are here, to prove you. You sit here and you see all the stuff they got going on, and you want to join them because it looks fun. They make it look fun. They make sand look like the best thing since Swiss cheese, right?
Right.
But come on, man. They're here to prove us. Go ahead and give me Judges chapter 3 and start in verse 1 and read down through verse 4.
Come on. Judges chapter 3, verse 1. Now these are the nations which the Lord left to prove Israel by them.
He left them to do what?
To prove Israel by them.
He left them to prove Israel by them. Go ahead.
Judges chapter 3, verse 1 continue. Even as many of Israel has had not known all the wars of Canaan, verse 2. Only that the generations of the children of Israel might know, to teach them war, at the least, such as before knew nothing thereof.
Right.
Verse 3. Namely, 5 lords of the Philistines and all the Canaanites and the Sidonians and the Hivites that dwelt in Mount Lebanon, from Mount Baal
Right.
Hermon unto the entering in of Hamath. Verse 4. And they were to prove Israel by them, to know whether they would hearken unto the commandments of the Lord, which he commanded their fathers by the hand of Moses. Verse 5. And the children of Israel dwelt among the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, and Hivites, and Jebusites. Verse 6. And they took their daughters to be their wives, and gave their daughters to their sons, and served their gods.
Right. Again, right? The Most High God used these other nations to prove us, right? So I can go ahead and give me Isaiah chapter 42, verse 16 through 17. So I'm going to show you what's going on with us when I say us that continue to want to join ourselves unto these other nations, right? And they make it seem like it's a bad thing, right? When I say a bad thing, China has its own nation. Does it mean anything negative or anything bad? No. Russia has its own nation. Does that mean anything bad? No. So why is it so imperative, right? It's such a sacrilegious for us to want to separate, right? That's the thing that baffles me. What you understand is that's part of the psychological war. Because one of the things the Most High God tells us not to do, he says, do not join yourselves. Do not make a covenant. That's in the scriptures. You can be a nation of people and do business. Why? How do we know that? Because when Solomon was here, right? When the nation had peace, it was peace. And Solomon he sent cedar woods from this nation. It was trading and bartering and all this stuff was going on within our nation. But guess what? We had a nation. Now we have nothing, and the world frowns upon us for saying, "Hey, we need to separate." Because what they understand, as long as they keep us in sin, they win. It's nothing negative that comes with separation, other than now you have more leverage, you have a little bit more power. Now everybody kind of got to come to the table and say, hey, what assets, what resources can we trade, et cetera, et cetera. But when you get to speaking about it, it becomes a negative thing. We got to shut that down. We got to end that. Think about all the and again, they want to say that what we do is hate speech, but again, if you look at the actions that from a historical standpoint that they themselves have in their books about black organizations that were empowering black people and caused a rift. They became afraid of anything like that, and they attacked it. Right? The war on drugs to attack black families. They use it from a standpoint that's just no different than saying, I'm here to protect you, but I'm gonna find a way to entrap you in my system and then get you up out of here. Because we don't need people like you thinking and helping other people think. They better get out of here. So such thing as hate speech. Everything we're doing is straight facts. You can go look at any history book, right? But Salakia, go ahead and read that for me.
Isaiah chapter 42, verse 17. They shall be turned back. They shall be greatly ashamed.
They should be what?
Greatly ashamed.
So these people should be greatly ashamed. Go ahead, continue reading.
Isaiah chapter 42, verse 17 continues. That trust in graven images, that say to the molten images, ye are gods. Verse 18. Hear ye deaf, and look ye blind, that ye may see. Verse 19. Who is blind but my servant, or deaf but my messenger that I sent? Who is blind is he that is perfect, and blind as the Lord's servant, seeing many things, but thou observest not, opening the ears, but hearing not.
Pause. You can stop right there. So again, the blind should, the people who follow these images and these idolatry, you're blind. You're blind to the truth. You don't want to hear the truth, right? And that's where we at now. Now, all we're trying to do is wake our people up. We come back and keep the commandments of the Most High God, contrary to the popular belief and what the rest of the world teaches. This is what will save us, by keeping the commandments and the faith of Yahweh Shah, right?
Right.
Not what the rest of this world got going on and stuff like that, right? Give me Ecclesiasticus, and I think it's Ecclesiastes. It's gonna be 12 and 13. I used to get it wrong at 13:12. It's pretty much the last one where it says, "Here's the whole duty of man." We're gonna go ahead and give it to you. This is in the scripture. This is what the Most High God requires of us. This, when people say, "God, why did you create me? God, why am I here?" I'm about to give you the answer from the Most High God, right? Not from man, but from the Most High God, right? So when you have this question, you outside wondering, you have an identity crisis, you don't know who you are, you don't know why you were created, and you feel less than. Because a lot of our people deal with depression and stuff like that because you've been lied to.
Right.
Well, I'm here today to tell you that you were created for a greater purpose. What I mean by a greater purpose is to serve the Almighty.
Right.
You've been chosen. You on the best team, right? The team that was destined to win from the very beginning. You've been chosen. So when they tell you less than, no, hey, guess what? You're that great, right? When I say you're great, you can become great by doing the things which is pleasing to your captain, right?
Right.
The one who added you to the roster, right? So when you're out here in tears and who am I and what was I created for and why am I here? This is why you're here. This is your purpose. This is your drive. This is your why. This is what you stand for, right? This is what you've been looking for your whole entire life, your purpose, right?
Right.
Go ahead and read what you got for me.
Coming on one kind. Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 13. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man.
This is the whole duty of what?
Of man.
That you keep his commandments. As easy as that, right? This is the whole duty. I'm telling you, if you start keeping these commandments, you'll have that much more joy, right? You'll feel that much more fulfilled, right? Because in this system, you can run around 24/7 and still feel less than. You can make all the money in the world and guess what? Still feel less than. Because all of this is, at that point, you become like a court gesture. You're just jumping through hoops to please man.
Right.
Right? What one thing that pleases one boss may not please another boss. And things that pleases, you get what I'm saying? So you have to understand that things that please the Most High God, it's not going to please man. You're not going to be a man pleaser. Right? But that concludes my class. Let me go ahead and get these service announcements. We are the I.S.U.P.K. started out of 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. Rule for new brother and sister. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to share themselves of the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from their head to speak to a brother or sister. There is another 6 months in which the brother and sister will court each other. After this 6 month period, the brother and sister will get permission from their head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment. Numbers 18:21, Malachi 3:8-10 means 10th. It's like my I.S.U.P.K means 10th in Hebrew. 10% of every penny of any increase Yahweh gives you, give to the treasury department or teacher. Priest fund, free will offering for priests, not mandatory. Whatsoever amount you would like. Feast of Purim is coming up. It's gonna be the next feast on the 22nd. For those who haven't paid your Passover, make sure you go ahead and get your Passover fees paid. Make sure you get your hotel booking. Make sure you get your flights done up, man. Right? The quicker you get that done, the better the prices will be for you. Right? See y'all there at Passover. With that being said, men of Israel, mind Shabbat, mind Barak, Yahweh Hashem, Yahweh Shah Barakathon, Yahweh Matah. Sorry, courtesy salute to the sisters. Men of Israel, Major. It's like my Shabbat, Amai, Barak, Yahweh Shamar Latham Bashem Yahshua. Major Matah, class dismissed.